Okay, start.
Okay. So my topic for this extempore is anti-paper leak. So before starting with the topic, so we know that anti-paper, like if we talk about the paper leaks, like I just wanted to brief something about the paper leaks, and we know that paper leak is very harmful for the economy as well as the youth. Also, we know that India is one of the highest. India is one of the highest rated in demographic dividend. But normally, what happens is that like there are various incidences of paper leaks at the UG level or at the PG level or at the competition level also that is actually destroying the career of the youth as well as also make the career of make the youth question that what is the credibility in the future. Then we know that like if we talk about the anti-paper leak, there are certain states like Rajasthan and Uttarakhand actually they have implemented some anti-paper law which actually inculcates strict legislations on the same, or we can say on the wrongdoer there are hefty fines as well as the jail term is also uh, there. But along with that, rather than giving the strict rules, laws and regulations, we can't rely on only on the laws and regulations. It's also on the technological part. We also have to take care of. For example, if we talk about there is a new age technology that is a blockchain technology where we can say everything is encrypted. Along with that, there is a secured folder and the secured access only. Nobody other than the access given to a person will be accessing the particular paper or particular file. So similar to that, a blockchain technology has to be implemented, which leads to a greater encryption. And we can see the strong room instances. For example, there are certain strong rooms that can be set up in the particular areas where the paper can be there. Like for example, if we talk of the computer-based test online, so there would be a blockchain technology that will be helping it to prevent the leak of the paper. But with respect to the offline papers or the pen and paper based mode paper, there are certain things that needed to be taken care of, just like we actually have a security of EVMs. So there would be a paramilitary staff or there would be some state police staff to actually guard them. Similar to that, on the war level, we actually have to protect the these pen and offline papers or the offline booklets in order to prevent that. So, the paper leak, like anti-paper leak legislation, is one of the needs of the hour in order to get and save our demographic dividend from getting destroyed or getting into the we can say drains of depression, or we can say that like everybody, like it's also creating inequality between the student, like for example the rich class or the elite class or the persons who are actually having the access to resources are misusing in a way. And with respect to the concepts of morality, the other persons or the persons who are underprivileged and who are very much engrossed that if they will be doing a certain level of hard work or good deeds, they will be actually getting that. But it's also a moral failure
Okay, okay,
on the
okay.
parts of us.
All right, Pratik.
So, yes, sir.
Uh, can you tell me that how other country, or do you have any example that how other country have dealt with this crisis, or do you know any exam where paper leak is not possible despite being a very big exam? Maybe
Okay.
you can take the example of GMAT. Is it possible to leak the paper of GMAT?
So there can be a certain level of possibility to leak the paper of GMAT, but again, we can say GMAT would be like GMAT is a secured level of paper, but again, we can't deny entirely on the technology, but we can enhance the technology using the blockchain technology, which will be preventing the paper leak due to the secured access of that and decentralized way in which there is no centralized way to actually protect the paper, but there will be certain levels of decentralized way that the paper can be can't be leaked. So across the world, I'm not sure on the point, but like for example, if you talk about there are certain in this certain examinations. For example, there is one exam of China that is a very secure exam, and that is a rigorous exam that runs for around 3 to 4 days. I currently don't remember the name. So that is a one secure paper, and that, like in the history, it's not supposed to be illegal, or we can say there is one paper that is UPSC, Union Public Service Commission, the civil services exams paper. That is also don't have any listings that it has been leaked. So similar level of securities also has to be applied on these one days exams, or we can say the exams, uh, inviting the applications of Group B and Group C officers.
Okay, Pratik, why do you want to do regulatory policy and governance?
So please repeat.
Why do you want to do this course, which is
Okay.
RPG or regulatory policy?
Okay. So we know that after the liberal 1991 reform, there would be a certain level of private players that will be coming into the picture. So like if we talk about the certain levels of private players, like a certain level of regulations needed to be taken care of with respect to the rules and regulations of vacancy, so they don't establish a particular level of monopoly. That is with respect to regulations. But why I want to do this course? The reason being that, for example, it is one of the multidisciplinary course, and it also involves us to learn a number of things about the economics, finance, and various state concept of state. Along with that, it also helps us to understand the impact assessments of the thing. Like for example, when we will be learning, understanding about the regulations, the feasibility studies will also be taken care of. So I would be more interested in developing these regulatory policies for a particular industry. And since I've actually have an experience of an tech industry, so I also wanted to uh, try to reform and like an industry which does not have any regulations like edtech. So based upon that, during my course, I actually have got interested in this course, and let's say that's why I wanted to do like regulatory policy governance at TISN Mumbai.
Okay. Tell me, what if we don't do regulatory or don't have regulatory bodies for our industries? What will
Mm-hmm.
happen? Give me any example that, or give me an example where we don't have regulatory bodies and there are numerous problem with that.
That there are.
Any problem with that?
Oh. So the concept of regulation is like, for example, it's a legal framework by the government in order to control the private behavior. So if you talk about the regulations, like if in the absence of regulatory bodies, there would be a certain level of monopoly that can be established by the uh, private players, and either they can actually control the prices. So essential commodities can be very high for them because since they will be profit making on the same, or we can say they will be
I'm just asking
giving.
the example of
Hmm,
the industry which you can
hmm,
quote,
okay.
which has been performing poor or maybe not as per expectation just because of the lack of regulatory policy. Your body.
Okay. So, like there are various industries. For example, if you talk about like even though there are regulatory policies, for example, the higher education institutions, like for example, AICTE. So AICTE is a regulatory body, but it's a weak regulatory body. Along with that, there are certain like nuclear power. So we can say we are yet to realize the potential of the nuclear power. So the nuclear power is still is no, like behaving as a poor industry, but we can say again there are certain levels of rules and regulations with respect to the like say the procedures as well as the wastage, the nuclear waste, how it is to be processed. So that nuclear power thing needed to be tapped. So our regulatory body is needed in that sector, sir.
But I think for nuclear power, we already have Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, no?
I guess that is not there. That is a statutory body, I guess.
No, it's the
So
name is regulatory body, Atomic Energy Regulatory Body. If you are
okay.
it, so I'm asking, give me an example of any industry
Okay.
where you find that we seriously need to regulate this industry.
One such example can be the edtech industry that is there. The edtech industry needs a serious regulations on the same with respect to the private players, because there are certain other rules and regulation, but we don't have a centralized regulatory authority for the edtech sector.
Okay. So don't you think that education also need regulation? It's not just edtech.
Education, so we have some education, like actually have some regulatory authorities which refer to the education. For example, the technical education, that is AICTE, but we need to empower it. Like it does have, but again, it is comparatively a weaker with respect to the other regulatory bodies that are presently there. So we have to empower it, and we actually have to make its procedures as well as its uh, things more enforceable on the institutions that are related to it.
Okay. So what power do you want to give to AICT?
So the power that I which to propose that I wanted to give it to the AICT. So for example, there are various if with respect to the private institutions that are there, there are large number of private institutions that are imparting the engineering. So one thing that is there that is there, for example, with respect to a medical college would only be open when there is a medical hospital nearby it or in its premises. But we can say in the with respect to the AICT, the licensing of the engineering college are let's say widespread, and like say they construct a basic infrastructure and they start imparting education without any practical experience. So, like AICTE should actually change some procedures in order to actually have a practical level experience, or we can say setting up an engineering college near to an industry hub, so that students that are actually there would be getting some real practical knowledge. This is my first proposal with respect to the imparting of the licenses by the AICT to the engineering colleges. Then the second part that can be done, that is does not come under the political pressure. So, for example, there are certain levels of political pressure also onto these regulatory bodies, especially AICTE, so that they don't let's say they give into their political pressure and they do not perform their regulatory uh, things or affairs very seriously. So empowerment part, then we can say setting up of mandatory incubators and research centers at engineering college, so that we can actually get a very good research based oriented, because the if you see the higher order, like higher education institutions, they are only the government colleges like IIT Science will be actually getting the major things, or we can say major recognition across the world. But
Okay,
there
okay,
are,
just went into
yes.
what engineering college should do rather than what AICT should have as in power. And
Mhm.
you think you deviated from the question.
Okay.
Next question is, Prateek, you were talking about EdTech.
Okay.
What is the potential of EdTech? Uh, because we have seen a great decline in investment and
Hmm.
even employment opportunity in EdTech, and
Hmm.
companies are closing down their business. So,
Hmm.
do we have any opportunity in EdTech, or should we go back to our traditional education setup?
Okay. So, like a blend of both will be working for our benefit. Like traditional education, we can't exclude the human element in it. But with respect to the edtech, EdTech industry, with the advent of National Education Policy 2020 and the National Curriculum Framework, actually has increased the importance of the EdTech also with respect to the PM Shri schools or the Nipun Bharat. So the point that I wanted to highlight is that we can't let the industry go into the deep drains. The thing is that we know that the industry actually is having some corrections on the same, but it's very it should be very wrong to deny or it should be very wrong to say that edtech does not have any potential, because again, with the advent of AI and with the advent of machine learning things, there are certain levels of like the edtech actually has a large number of we can say wider outreach. For example, if there is no school at a particular thing and if there is an internet, so the person can actually, with the help of the edtech platforms or with respect to the ICT implementation, the person will can actually learn at any corner of India with the advent of the internet. So we can say that at the penetrating power of edtech is that is to be capitalized on a much wider scale that than that is to be now. And along with the traditional education, it should be a blend of both. Uh, the things like, for example, if we talk about to explain the complex concepts, we needed to have a level of edtech in place, because there are certain levels. So that we can see the creativity part, or we can see the animations part would be very easy, and we can say it would be instead of the rote learning process, the edtech will be coming into space. So the potential of edtech can't be ignored, as well as the potential in edtech is will be ever growing, and it will not be we can say contained, or we can say it will not be getting we can say a flatter curve. Yes, sir.
It's true that tech can be very helpful, but I'm
Hmm.
just asking in terms of business that do we have scope that the economy can be benefited through tech businesses?
Sure. Yes, sir. So economy would be definitely be benefiting, because we can say that like there are certain number of private players which will be employing the like various number of people. So normally what happens is that like with respect to the edtech can be one of the largest job providers. For example, if we talk about the education, like the teachers are generally underpaid as per the various reports. So we can say like with respect to the private players, along with the margin of the profit, they can also pay the teacher well, and the teacher will be performing that. So we can say it can also be a large number of employment generation with respect to the things like, for example, the teachers exam. So the teacher competitive exams actually don't have any timeline, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year down the line. So we can say these teachers, which are very talented, that can be recruited to edtech, which will eventually be like the student learning life cycle would be actually enhanced. So with respect to the economy, with respect to the human capital development, with respect to the skill development, edtech is very necessary for the Indian youth as well as the Indian teachers, as well as for the students also.
Okay. Last question for you, Pratik.
Yes, sir.
Recently, UGC has recommended that it will be allowing universities to take admission
Okay.
twice a year. So, how good it would be, or is there any um, like negative side of it?
Okay. So yes, like for example, it's very it's a, decent step by UGC to allow the students to take admissions twice a year. For example, it will be very helpful for those who actually are dropouts. So with respect to the dropouts, they can actually due to some issues, they can actually if they have left the studies, they can get the things done, or we can say they can try to take the admission. Then we can say that the another good part would be that with respect to the things it will be also be adding to the revenue generation of the particular school or a particular UGC. So that would be also be helping. Then it will be increasing the student admission rate, or we can say admission, the student processes or the student enrollment, to be precise, will be increased on a much wider layer, and large number of students will be getting the access to education. uh, then the next part would be the negatives can be some negatives can be there. So the negatives can be like, for example, we actually have to employ because admission process is a certain level of long process. We can say it might take 10 to 15 days, 30 days along the line. So we can say we actually have to employ some additional manpower to that, or we can say assign the existing manpower to the admission process. So it can be a certain level of cumbersome things. For example, if there is an exam peak season, or if there is a certain things like which are going on.
Okay, okay, okay.
So
Like, over, it's over.
okay,
Like,
yes, sir.
and let me talk about the answers that you have given.
Okay.
इसको स्टॉप कर देते हैं, क्योंकि थोड़ा बहुत क्रिटिसाइज भी करना है तुमको. तो